Hey guys, I'm Dan from ShastaBubba Adventures, and today I thought it'd be kind of fun just to take a leisurely stroll through my pack, show you everything that's in it, but not just what's in it, but also talk about why I've made the choices to carry the stuff that I do. A couple of details before we get into it. First, I just want to let you know there will be a link in the description below to all of this gear if you want to check it out for yourself. Second is that I will probably put a lot of the company names on the screen here because I'm afraid that I'll say something wrong or forget somebody. I'm almost sure I'm going to forget somebody's name. Next, I am not going to list the weights of every individual item just because I'm afraid all those numbers would just get overwhelming and become meaningless. However, I will say that my base pack weight of this complete setup is 16.5 pounds. Now, that's nothing to brag about, certainly. It's no sub 10 pound base pack weight, but it is everything that I need to stay warm and comfortable and what works for me. So nothing to be embarrassed about either. Lastly, I just want to say please ask questions because I'm sure I'm going to miss a lot of stuff as we go along. And so if you have something that comes up that you're wondering and want to know more about, put the questions in the comments and I'll be happy to answer as much as I can. Okay, well, first question, does my new mic look like a corsage or is that just me? Hopefully it's not too distracting. All right, so let's talk about stuff that I carry first. First thing is I cut a bandana in fourths and carry that as a actual something to blow my nose in because the large bandana is used for so many other things. Second is you may have noticed that I have a clip-on watch that I wear at my waist through a belt loop, and I just find that really handy to be able to check quick what time it is because I use time for hiking and take a break every hour. And the third thing is these guys are some pinch nez style glasses that I find very handy. They're by Newt's NOOZ. And I carry these in a cargo pocket just when I need to check something on the GPS or read the map. Very handy to have that quick, and also it doesn't bother me to carry it because it's so thin and light. All right, first we need to talk about the pack itself. And this is the Kakwa 55 from Durst & Gear. Now, this is my go-to pack. I do own the 40, but I just like having a little bit of extra space to be able to almost always get my tent inside the pack. And it's only a couple of ounces more than the 40, so I really don't see an advantage to taking the smaller pack. No real complaints about this pack. I've had it long enough. I probably should be doing a long-term review about it now. Only minor thing is that I wish they would have stuck with the original buckles because I found those just to work a little better. These are just a little bit fiddly to get together, but that's a really minor consideration. Overall, very happy with the Kakwa. All right, so let's start with stuff on the outside. So in the front pocket, I carry a Ziploc bag with my maps. I always print out very detailed maps from CalTopo because I just like to have hard copy. Up until recently, I never carried my phone, so that wasn't an option for me. Just the last couple of trips, I've started carrying my phone because it actually has a really good camera in it, and I'm using that to take more scenic shots, and I'll probably start using that more for mapping too. But I think I am going to still keep printing out maps just as a fail-safe because in case the electronics get fried in some way. This is food for the day. I always like to take out of the main food bag whatever I think I'm going to use during the day, excepting dinner. That stays in the large food bag inside the pack. And then this is just really handy on the trail. Pull that out and grab what I need for every break. Here's the actual full-size bandana, which, as any backpacker knows, has a million uses. Probably one of the most single multi-use pieces of gear in the pack. And its companion, the pack towel. This one is from MSR. Funny thing, I actually bought 2 of these when I bought these because I figured it would wear out and I would want another one. It's never worn out, and I believe this is probably about 13 or 14 years old. I use it on every trip and certainly don't baby it, so very impressive. In the category of gear that just works really well, definitely have to put the MSR pack towel. Then I've got my Ditty bag. This is a waterproof DCF bag, so I don't worry about having it in the front pack when it rains. And just a place to store little stuff. And for me, that's a medicine bottle. I have in that antacids and Advil and probably a few Benadryl in case of some allergic reaction, but also as a sleep aid. And then there's another pair of glasses that I get from Amazon. And these guys are very convenient. Just fold out, extend. And so if I'm in the tent and actually want to read at night, they're a little more comfortable to wear than the little armless ones. And it has a great little case that keeps them from getting crushed. So I really appreciate that, and pretty cheap too. Then I have the whistle from a sternum strap because I take the sternum straps off, but it's good to have an emergency whistle. And kind of an odd little thing, this is a little floss stick, super lightweight. I actually carry 2 of these, one in my hip belt pocket and one in the Ditty bag, just to clean the teeth. And I find that when I am hiking down the trail, if I've eaten something at a break and it gets stuck in my teeth, it really bugs me. So it's really handy just to be able to pull that out and take care of that business. Speaking of taking care of business, this is my toiletry bag, and this is mainly alcohol gel and the top of my bidet for my water bottle, which I keep in the side with the other water bottle. So fill that up when I'm going to need it. And then I also have just a little bit of emergency TP if there's some odd situation where I couldn't use the bidet, which I haven't really run into, except maybe sometimes if you're using the outhouse at the trailhead, it can be more convenient to use the TP. This is just a little bit of DEET. I really try to resist using it as much as possible because I don't like the smell, and I'm also worried about deterioration effect on the lightweight gear, high-tech gear. So yeah, it's just a little, and I keep it double bagged because it tends to leak. Just a little spray bottle. And what I usually do is, if I can stand, if it isn't too hot and I can stand to put on a longer shirt, then I'll do that instead to protect me. But usually it's just my forearms and my face that are exposed, and I'll just spray it on my hand and wipe it in those places that I need it. And that minimizes my use of DEET, so that little bottle lasts a really long time. And then I've got this little pouch that I use for sunscreen, and it's refillable. These are from REI, pretty cheap and really useful things that you can, it's got a flip top, so you can squirt the whatever you need out of there, but it also unscrews so that you can refill it easily. So I found that to be really handy. And then of course my SteriPen. This is the SteriPen Ultra, which is the rechargeable one. And you know, I've done a review of these that I admitted I've had a couple of situations where they didn't work, but by and large, probably 90-95% of the time, it has worked just great for me. And I still find that to be preferable to the filters, just because the filters are a lot of work, I think, and take a lot of time. And this is just so much easier to use. Okay, that's everything in the front pocket. Side pockets, I've got the water bottles, both the Gatorade, and I can never remember the name of the company that does these, but I like to have the 2 different types of bottles because sometimes I'll be hiking along and there'll be a water source So I want to grab the water, but I don't want to take the time to sit down and use the SteriPen. I want to do that down the trail another mile or two. So that's easy to keep track of which one is the dirty water that needs to be filtered later. Then on top, I've got my sit pad from REI, 2 ounces of lovely comfort when you're sitting on a hard surface, and also protects me if it's wet out and I can sit down and not have to worry about that soaking through. Now, on some trips, I will take a camp chair. Sometimes I'll use the Ultralight chair from REI, or the other one that I can't remember the name of now, that is just the flat type. I find that the REI one is more comfortable, but it's kind of a pain to deploy it. The other one deploys quickly, but not as comfortable. So it just depends on what the situation is going to be, which one I take. Or if I'm going on a many day trip, then I'm much more likely to go with the sit pad. Okay, let's talk about front shoulder pockets. Left one is where I carry my inReach, so I can check that often for both the GPS for the distance and sometimes for the map for telling me whether I'm taking the right trail or not. Since I use the Explorer because I don't take my phone regularly, but since I am starting to take my phone, I might have to invest in the Mini 2 because that is certainly super highly rated and would save a little bit of weight. And in the right shoulder pocket, I've cut the bottom out of it, and so that the GoPro sits in there really conveniently together with the newer tripod and selfie stick. It just sits in there and the GoPro wedges on top to keep it there, and it's super handy for me to pull it out when I need it. Of course, I've got bear spray, which since I hike in grizzly country a lot of the time, I need that, and I've gotten so used to having it that I just take it even when I'm not in grizzly country because it works on lots of other critters in addition to the grizzlies. All right, so the right storage pocket is where I keep my phone, and I will also have a little microfiber towel to wipe the lens, and this is a little DCF bag from Mountain Laurel Designs that I can throw the phone in if it starts raining, and that is not completely waterproof, but it's pretty water resistant, and between that and the water resistant zipper on the pocket, I'm pretty sure the phone's going to be safe. But in the left pocket is where I keep lots more stuff. First is these sunglasses. These are from Ombros, and I just got these this year and I really am liking them. They're armless sunglasses, and so you put the band around your head and then just tighten it by pulling those 2 cinch things apart. And at first I kind of struggled to get used to this because I felt like it was always slipping down on my nose, but then I figured out, and that was because I was just putting that at one setting and then leaving it. But I figured out if I just put it on and actually cinch that a little bit, it keeps it securely attached to my nose, so I don't have to worry about that. I love the fact that they put a microfiber towel sewn into the protective case, so you always have that. But the best thing I like about them is they're just really good lenses. And also they are curved, so normally I use kind of flat sunglasses because that fits better in the pocket of the pack. If you use curved ones and then the arms are like this, they get really fat. So this is really convenient because it is, without the arms, it's very thin, doesn't take up a lot of space. But the other thing is, the thing I don't like about my flat sunglasses is anytime the sun is 180 degrees behind me, it reflects off the lenses in my eye, and so I can't wear them a lot of times when I really need them. But with this curved lens, then it protects from that. I don't need to worry about that, so I can wear them a lot more often, in addition to the fact that the lenses are just a lot better quality than my other ones. Okay, so lip balm, Burt's Bees works pretty good for me. And I have a lighter. I usually carry a lighter in my ditty bag too. For some reason it's not in there. So I have 2 lighters. And that's where I keep my knife. Now, a knife is an interesting thing to talk about because this is one of those yo-yo things, because when you go start exploring ultralight gear, one of the things they talk about is how little you really use a knife on most trips. So you can go with something super small, like even a razor blade that just has a little piece of cardboard around the blade to protect it. The scalpel is another interesting thing, that you can guide these little mini scalpels with a plastic protector, and those work okay. And I even went on several trips without any knife at all, because I found the only time I really used a knife was to cut the moleskin to shape if I had a blister. So I figured out I could cut the moleskin ahead of time, and then I wouldn't need a knife at all. However, the more I thought about it, the more I realized that a knife is actually a pretty critical survival tool if things go wrong. Sure, you can go on lots of trips and not use a knife if things are just normal and no problems. But if something did happen, you would really want to have a pretty sturdy, at least one good blade for shaping sticks to whatever you would need in that situation. So this is the version of the Swiss Army knife that is the smallest, that still has both the toothpick and the tweezers, because I actually find those to also be useful in certain situations. So I kind of went back up in weight, because it isn't much more weight, and I find this to be a much more useful tool than going without. And also I will keep in that left pocket my spare batteries for the cameras. All right, now we get to the good stuff inside the pack. So right on top, of course, is my shelter, and this is the Durston Gear X-Mid 2-Person Pro, so it's the DCF version, and this is really my go-to tent these days. I never thought that I would end up with a hybrid 1.5 wall tent, because I always worried about condensation. I've been using this, I think, 2 years now, and never had any problems really with condensation. So it's still the lightest weight, full protection that I can get. I do still like my Locust Gear Kufu if I want to have a complete double wall protection, but there haven't been many times that I need that. And the Kufu is just a little bit too small so that my head and feet brush against the internet. So I'm really appreciating all the extra space in the X-Mid 2 Pro. Notice that I'm using the 2 Pro for a solo hiker because I like that extra space. The 1 Pro I found to be just a little too condensed, and I like to be able to spread out my gear beside me. So that's why the 2 Pro is working good for me. Then there's Windshirt from Montbell. Still using this one. Boy, this has been through a lot of years and a lot of use with me. I've done a video about all the uses of a Windshirt that quite frankly surprised me. I always thought it was a useless piece of gear, but it's one of my favorite pieces of gear now. Then there's Raincoat, is the Enlightened Equipment Visp, which sometimes is hard to find. It's so popular it gets sold out quickly, but I really think this is the best ultralight raincoat on the market. Really love that. And my Puffy, and I'm pretty much always taking this. This is the Western Mountaineering Flash Jacket, and it's a bit of overkill for trips in July and August, but I've found that, I don't know, I just must be cold at nights. And so I found that really never been a situation that was in between where it was too hot outside to wear the puffy, but I wanted to wear something. You know, if it gets cold enough at night that I want to wear something, I can put this on and be comfortable. So that's just, it's not only the warmest thing I have, it's also the lightest thing I have, which makes it kind of a no-brainer to keep taking that. Then I've got rain pants. These are the Gore-Tex pants from REI that I've cut the ankle zips off because I've found that I just don't need the ankle zips, and that makes it a lot more lightweight, and that works really good. Then I've got my cook kit, and this is the Toques. I think it's the 550 size. And then inside is the Pocket Rocket. I believe that's MSR, right? Pocket Rocket. And not the deluxe. I don't like spark arresters because they just wear out and don't work when you really need them to work, in my experience. So I find that to be just an extra that you don't need. You can save a little weight and a little money by just getting the basic model. And I've got my neoprene knee brace, and if you look real close, these have a real tight band around the top and the bottom, and I cut that bottom band off because I have these gargantuan calves and it made it really uncomfortable. And by the way, they still work just fine. Now, I have been doing some knee strengthening exercises for, I think, 3 years now. I should probably do a video and share those. And I haven't had to use the neoprene brace since I started doing those exercises. And so I still carry it because it's very lightweight, and if I needed it, I really need it. So it makes a big difference. So I'm still carrying that, but I'm so happy that I haven't had to use it for so long. Okay, so this is, I call this my gear bag. As you can see, it's a nice cube, so it opens easily and then can spread out and see everything in it. So I find that really convenient. This is by a company I got from Garage Grown Gear, and it's Ultralight cubes by Ultralight Sacks, I think is the name of it. This guy has been with me probably 2 or 3 years now and doesn't seem to have any wear on it. It's DCF, and they just changed the material that they're using. Apparently that it's even more resistant. So this has been great. So if it's a better material, I'm sure it's going to be even better. And what I keep in this is pretty much things that are in between. They're too large to really fit well in my ditty bag. By the way, did I say that's all men's right ditty bag? But too small to be just loose in the pack. So got my headlamp. This is the Nightcore, what is it, NB something something. But the Nightcore headlamp that everybody uses. Still getting used to the strings. One thing I don't like about them is that they kind of get in the way of everything else in the bag. I used to keep my headlamp in my ditty bag because it's small enough, but with those strings, it just tangles up with everything. So now I'm keeping it in the gear bag, and that's working okay. This is my gear hang bag. So it's just the string and the rock bag for throwing it over the limb to hang food at night. Don't know who made that one, and don't really want to recommend it because it's worn out. I've already got a little safety pin because the bottom opened up, and that's got some little holes in it, which, you know, you're going to get holes in that bag because I just pick up a random rock and stuff it in there and throw it over the limb. So it's understandable that there would be some wear and tear on that and maybe not last too long. Next is the tiny little fan inflator from Flextail. And I love this. I never thought I would because I really like the efficiency of using a stuff sack to inflate the pad, your sleeping pad. But this thing is just so convenient when you're dead dog tired at the end of the day. And it actually weighs the same or less than the stuff sack I was using to inflate the pad. And, you know, in a bad situation, if this died, it's not the end of the world to inflate the sleeping pad by mouth. So that's why I'm keeping going with that. I like to keep 50 feet of line. This is kind of an emergency tool. It's come in handy in a few situations, but not very often do I have to use that. Keep a little ace bandage for first aid. And this is where I store my power bank. This is the NB10000 from Nitecore. Working pretty good for me. Not quite sure what to expect because I don't use power banks a lot, but I am starting to use them more, especially taking my phone on trips. And recently I had this that it completely recharged my phone twice. So I'm not sure if that's great or maybe I should expect more from it. More to come on that. This is a little spark arrestor, and again, just another emergency tool. This is what my great nephew Dax used to start a fire on our recent trip to the Salmo River, just to show proof of concept. And a little roll of duct tape. I've got my thermometer that I always use in the tent at night to know how cold it got, and a little signal mirror. And then I also have a little Ziploc bag with a couple of pages of paper and a waterproof pen that I use to write some notes on details on the trip that probably wouldn't be interesting enough to be in the actual video, but I might want to know. Or if I need to write a message and leave a message for somebody, I can do that. Then there's my first aid kit. Obviously, very minimal first aid kit. I just have Band-Aids and moleskin for blisters, some basic meds like antibacterial ointment, and some pills that I don't know what they even are, some Tylenol, things like that. The one thing that I've added to this that is maybe worth mentioning is this is a blood clotting sponge that is just a little extra thing that would be very useful if you had some gaping wound that you really needed some help getting it to stop bleeding. But everything else is pretty standard for what is in this, the Med Kit 0.5. Next is my food bag, and I always keep this with a op sack to hide odors inside, and of course I've got my long-handled spoon in there. That's a DCF bag that I can use to hang the food at night, and it's waterproof. Next is clothing bag. This stuff sack is from Mountain Laurel Designs, by the way. And in this I keep extra Patagonia boxer shorts is the underwear that I like to use, and a fleece hat, extra pair of socks for hiking. So I always carry one extra shirt and the boxers and socks, and that way it works great for an overnight. I can switch out if I need to, but especially for days longer than 4, because I can wear one set of those clothes for 2 days, then switch out and launder the first ones, and then another 2 days with a second set, and then go back to the first set for the next 2 days. So can carry on that pretty much indefinitely just with those 2 sets. Fleece gloves, these are from Mountain Hardwear. The extra shirt. By the way, I did want to mention that these are the shirts I like are the Echo shirts from OR and the quarter zip. Now, if you've been watching my videos, you know that I don't like tight stuff around my neck. So I used to always use the short sleeve Echo shirts and then cut the collars out. But that does kind of create a problem because it tends to run the material. And then it dawned on me that I could buy the quarter zip shirt and just cut the arm off instead. And this is working great for me because it's a lot more comfortable, and I can really vent a lot by opening the zip completely if I'm just really hot. So this is a great system for me. I don't like the full length sleeve just because it gets too warm. I know it's the thing now for everybody to wear the hooded sun shirts to protect from UV, which is smart. You know, I have a big floppy hat that I wear now to help protect against the sun. But I figure, you know, I'm out in the sun all summer long, and I'm going to have a base tan on my hands and forearms. So I really don't need the discomfort of having material on my forearms. That's why I cut the arms off. Suit yourself. Then for sleeping, I have Marmot polypro for bottoms. For the tops, I have a shirt by Heat. That's H-E-A-T. From Costco, you can get those. Now, this is a screaming deal because they are dirt cheap. You would think they would be garbage, but they're actually one of the lightest things you can get that is actually warm at night. So those are work great for me. And then I always carry a pair of Smart Wool their crew length socks that I call them my night socks, and that's for sleeping in. And I'll keep those dry, and then that keeps my feet comfortable at night. In an emergency, I could hike out in those too. Next is my pillow by Trekology. Really still liking this a lot. Works great for me. The only complaint is that the band that goes around the sleeping pad is getting kind of stretched out. It'd be nice if that wasn't happening, but it still holds it secure, so not a big problem. I just got these. These are from Z-Packs, and they're supposed to be camp shoes. I don't think I would really use them for camp shoes. I don't need that because I hike in trail runners. What I did get them for is there's this situation where I'm wearing my night socks and I have to get up and pee during the night. And I don't want to walk out in my socks, so I end up taking them off and then putting on my shoes. They're usually wet and barefoot, and that's not comfortable, and going out and taking care of my business. And then I have to come back in and wipe off my feet and then put the night socks back on. So it's just a big pain in the ass. So I was hoping that these would work. They're super light, and they just slip over the socks, and there's even a little strap to hook on to your heel to keep them secure. So I'm thinking those will solve that problem for having to take care of business during the night. Then there's my sleeping pad, and this is the Nemo Tensor All Season Ultralight. I really think this is the best pad you can get these days. It's 5.4 R value. I used to poo-poo any difference in R value. If it was only like 1 point, it didn't matter that much. I've changed my mind on that. I think it does matter a ton. And for a cold sleeper like me, this is really great. It's comfortable, it works well, and it's 20 ounces, so it's really not all that luxurious of an addition to, you know, a more, and it's also the long wide version. That's why it's 20 ounces. You can get this in a mummy regular length for only 14 ounces. So really no reason not to go with that. And then there is my quilt, which I'm not going to take that out. Well, by the way, the bag that I'm using is also from Mountain Laurel Designs. I really like having a dry top roll bag DCF to protect my quilt, so that even though it's in the bottom of the pack, I know it's not going to get wet. Even if a little bit of water does seep in, like in an all-day rain situation, that could happen even with a fairly close to waterproof pack like the Kakwa. So this is just a little extra security. And then I have my quilt from Enlightened Equipment, and it's the Enigma. And this is probably where my extra weight comes in, because this is the long and extra wide and 0 degree quilt, which kind of sounds like overkill, but like I keep saying, I'm a cold sleeper, so I appreciate it. If I was to do this over again, I wouldn't get the extra wide though, because that is just too much width. And when it was new, that actually created a little bit of a problem, because instead of draping over me, it would kind of hold up around me when I didn't have it cinched into the bands on the sleeping pad. So if I got that again, I would just go with the long. I like the long because at 6 foot, I'd like to be able to tuck my head down in if I really had to, but not the extra wide, just go with the wide. And in the very bottom of my pack, I did attend a wilderness first aid training, and the number one lesson that came out of that was the answer to just about every situation is stabilize and evac. But there were two other tips, little things that I got out of that, and one was that blood clotting sponge, and the other one was this. This is an aluminum splint, and it actually comes in a roll, but it's very malleable, so you can shape it to whatever shape works for you. I like this flat shape because it sits in the bottom of my pack and I never have to think about it. Now, I always figured if I needed a splint in the backcountry, I'd just grab 2 sticks and use that 50-foot line or the duct tape to wrap it up. But come to find out, that actually doesn't work all that great. And this is very, very light. So it's just a useful little bit of extra protection to have in the bottom of your pack. Okay, I think that's it. So please, like I said, ask questions. I love talking gear, so I'll be happy to answer whatever I can. Really appreciate your hanging in there with me if you're all still here. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care. I think I'm probably going to keep printing out maps just as a just as a backup, used for a million things, from I don't want to say that. And then I've got this little bag, or what do you call this? This is the best pad you can get. It's got a little piece of down floating around. And in the right shoulder pocket, I've cut out the bottom of it so that I take my, what's it called? Can't remember the name of that other one.